Yeah. All right. And we are live. Flashpoint returns with a special guest, Ebontis. Who we got in the building, man?
We got Wilhelm Scream from YouTube, Twitter. I'll let you take your introduction, man. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, man.
Hello, yeah, I'm Wilhelm Scream, community content creator for Destiny. Love the game. I've been playing it since the Destiny Alpha, which it's kind of hard to believe. It's been 4 years since that.
Yeah,
it was
crazy.
it's a fun time, and yeah, just trying to keep consistent, keep the community as informed as possible, and really appreciate being here.
Absolutely.
You know?
Pleasure to have you, man. Pleasure to have you.
Like I said, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. We've definitely been kind of crossing paths for a bit, and shout out to hooking us up with Destiny Tower. That's a great, people that don't know, it's a great Facebook group. And like I said, I got a chance to check out your content, and it's really passionate. And it's always good to see, fellow lovers of Destiny kind of get together, talk about this game that we're so damn passionate about.
Yeah, I love it. And I think I've known of Ebontis for almost 3 years, although we've never actually talked before.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
It was kind of crazy that you know people. It's sort of funny, you know people in a game, and then you know people through the community of a game. It's interesting.
Yeah, man. Likewise. I mean, I literally met Ebontis at my first Guardian Con.
And, that's cool. Yeah,
that's actually how we linked up. And yeah, man, it's just been cool, man, ever since. Just talking Destiny, and we just can't stop.
Yeah.
So it's good. We're gonna get this thing going. So man, we got some news going on in this TWAB. What's going on, man? A lot of changes.
It's been an interesting week. Yeah, we got it's actually a perfect week. So with a guest on, sometimes we'll typically cover the TWAB, the news for the week, but these are kind of more open discussion topics. We got Gambit, kind of some things to talk about there, Crucible changes, and just overall, we'll definitely dive into what do you want me to call you during this, by the way? We didn't cover that. Just Wilhelm, Scream.
Oh, you could say
the best.
Scream or Wilhelm. People say both. People say either or.
I'm just saying Scream all the time.
I might go with Scream because I don't want to butcher it.
Right. Scream seems to be a little easier sometimes when you're trying to think of it really fast,
Well, if out of nowhere I'm like, Scream!
Yeah.
I'm just with your name. But yeah, we'll just kind of get some general thoughts about Forsaken and changes and anything we've all heard coming up. So yeah, typically let's just dive into this week at Bungie and get into a couple of these topics we've got coming. So Gamescom is around the corner, guys. Anything you hope to see in their little footage reveals? Anything else that they might be dropping, or are you kind of done and you've seen all you want to? What do you guys think?
Let Scream go, then I'll jump in after.
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, as someone who tries to keep as up to date with the community as possible, I feel as though I've seen enough to the point where I always sort of like to leave those as sort of like a reveal, a little bit of a surprise.
You sound like Ebontis.
I mean, yeah,
we fight all the time. We fight all the time about that. It's funny
because you learn. I mean, there's so much information I think out there if you're looking for it. I mean, Bungie tells you a bit, and then the community will even tell you more if you know who to look for.
Yes.
So when it comes to the reveals, I think I know what to expect, but I always look forward to being that little bit of pleasantly surprised with new stuff. Maybe with the lore, I think there might be. I don't know if they're going to reveal that at Gamescom, but I'm sort of interested in I don't know. I feel like there could be some secret things that we might think are one thing and they're not actually.
Interesting.
Not there.
No, I hear you, man. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I mean, to be realistic, we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot. They've been very, forthcoming with a lot of information. I'm hoping it's probably a little bit kind of like what they did at E3, where I got a chance to play Gambit, and I think they may reveal some tidbit of information that we didn't know. But that's pretty much what I expect and what I'm hoping for. I don't need any full blown, breaking news exposés of what's coming, in Forsaken. So I'm satisfied, man. I'm hyped. I think the TWABs are serving their purpose for the community right now and really getting us ready mentally and how to prepare, which I think is kind of like the first I've seen from them in a while, really telling, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what's going to happen to this. And, so on. Obviously we'll get into it with Ebontis. So I'm ready, man. I'm hyped.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know they'll be playing Gambit again. I wonder if anybody gets any new maps or a different build or anything like that. Maybe they'll just give them the same thing they've been taking everywhere. I'm sure they will, just because it's like they have that thing pretty pre-packaged at this point. So probably gonna get the general stuff, but I'm sure they'll drop one new trailer like everything else. So just don't tell me who the final raid boss is. That's all I ask. You know? Not too much stuff.
Yes, we know how your bots is.
Like for Wilhelm's sake, it was like when we talked about it before. My point is that me personally, and I know we've gone back and forth, and like it's marketing, the game definitely needed some help. It's like I'm not arguing that, but for me personally, when I'm playing the game, I wish I didn't know that Cade was gonna, be getting his comeuppance. So it's kind of that's the point where I think I'm good with you. I'm like I've got a lot already. It's like, just spoon feed me a little bit here and there, little pieces, and I'm good. So hopefully we don't get too much, or I'll just have to go a little more silent over the next week or two. Flashpoint's going to be a real Flashpoint next week. So guys, we're not looking at any content anymore. We're going to be black.
Move on.
And podcast open. But yeah, we'll see what comes out of next week. So we've got a lot of changes. Coming with both Forsaken, the patch on the 28th, Crucible, Gambit's coming with Forsaken, weapon slot changes. So a whole bunch of stuff is moving around. Heads up for you guys again when it comes to the 28th. Definitely make sure you have all your inventory and weapon slots and all that stuff, or weapon changes and damage types ready before the 28th. So when that stuff happens, it's all locking in. But we've got some stuff to talk about with Gambit. You want to take this one? You want me to kind of cover the intro and let you guys go at it?
Jump off. You can set it off, and then we'll talk.
Okay. So they said Forsakens are around the corner. Gambit will soon be unleashed, but they want to discuss their goals for Gambit. They said they wanted to put PvE and PvP together, which is a really cool thing. Wilhelm, you and I were talking about this a little bit. It's a thing that only Destiny and few other games can do. And I think we're all pretty excited to see them put these two together finally, because we're always split off. You're either only doing Crucible or only doing PvE, and finally getting kind of a mode with both where people can excel at one thing or another. It's like you may have like one person on your team who's the only one who goes through the portal because they're a beast at PvP sniping, but you got 3 people on the other end who are good at the other side, and you can actually work well, and it's going to be some different team builds. It's not just like the Hovies and the snipers and the beast people at PvP. It's going to need both. It's going to need both. So that'll be really cool. They want to make it accessible to all skill levels, but give it depth, which is always good. We always want more depth pretty much at this point. They casualized it too much, so give us some more. And that's what I was saying. There's always a role to play, and that's what they're talking about. Slaying enemies, scooping up moats, invading, all that stuff will be good. They say communication isn't required, but I'm sorry, but if you're going to be successcul, I'm pretty sure it's going to be.
Pretty sure you're going to talk to each other.
Be like, all right, I'm going to go drop a blocker now. Okay, I'm going to go run across and try and stop them from, getting it in and all that stuff. So it looks like it's going to be a really fun mode. I wish I could get my hands on it. I know you got to. Still so jealous of that from E3.
Man, it's fun. It's really they really nailed it. And like I said, you can just play the role that you're comfortable with. If you're a PvE guy, you focus on the blockers and grabbing up those moats. If you're a PvP guy and you just got a little bit of mischief in you, you go through that portal and you cause havoc on the other side of the opponent. So it's really cool. It's a nice marriage of modes, and something that, like you said earlier, like one of the few things that only Destiny can kind of pull off, something like that. So yeah, but you're gonna love it. It's very addicting.
Yeah, that's going to be a part of the issue. So, Wilhelm, you hyped for this one? Have you got a chance to play it yet, or just mostly seen it like I have?
I haven't. I've mostly seen it, and I do have to say, like, as a sort of a PvP guy,
I like that.
Weapons rolls were always kind of a thing that I loved. That was kind of, as a PvP guy, weapons rolls and grinding for different rolls on a weapon was what, like, always encouraged me to play PvE, and in doing that, like, that sort of grind and farm actually became really, really fun. So it was always kind of like, even though I preferred PvP, PvE had sort of a unique place for me, especially when it came to like Nightfalls and doing like trying to solo them. There was a real challenge there. And like, I don't know, Destiny, even on the onset of D1, was such a unique sandbox, in that nobody had really done anything where there was even sort of an equal give and take of PvE and PvP within the game of like an FPS on a console. Like nobody had done that really. So when I thought about it in my mind, you know, I always tried to think like, what would be the perfect marriage of these two things? Like, how exactly would you do it? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I probably came up with maybe 5 ideas on my own that I thought were pretty good. None were quite as good as what they've done. As far as what I've seen. And as someone who, you know, I have, you know, some friends, or I used to, you know, when I played on the on different consoles, I had other friends who really only liked to play PvE. They didn't like PvP just frustrated them. Like they would play it for 2 seconds and then just say, I'm done with this.
Yep.
And not always having that thing to do. Like you do the Nightfall, you do the raid, you can go do some strikes and stuff. But when, you know, they're doing the strike specific thing, those are more encouraged now. I suppose that the game just moving into Forsaken is going to be a much more fluid PvE environment, meaning there's just going to be so much more to do anyway.
Right.
But with something like this, I don't know. I feel like it's going to attract so many new people to the game.
Yes, I agree. Big time. That's a great point. I completely agree. And like I said, as a PvP guy myself, you know, I also used to think about modes. We used to think about this, like what could they do to kind of incorporate it? And I didn't even think of anything like this. So I'm in the same Scream. I'm with you. I'm in the same boat as you in this thing, man.
Yeah. I'm very jealous that you got to play it.
Oh yeah, I've been that way for a while.
Extremely jealous.
In the party.
Yeah, man. You guys are in for some fun. Make no mistake, man. Make no mistake. So
yeah, I will say it's one of the things that, like, just anything you hear about it, though, I've not heard anything like, okay, I'll have heard 99% positive about that thing, which is insane.
Same with me.
And it's like, for that much uniform, like, excitement about one new mode is kind of awesome. So it's one of those things we know Destiny should have going for it. But yeah, we're going to have a ranking system in Gambit itself, completely upon its own, called Infamy. So they say at the high level, Infamy is a progression-based ranking system where completing matches earns you points. Winning matches will greatly accelerate your time. Losing matches still earns you points, just fewer if you win. Kind of works like Glory. No, I'm sorry, not Glory, Valor.
Valor.
Yep, pretty much the same thing.
If you've ever crossed those in talking, forgive me. They also want to experience to reward players with unique Gambit weapons on armor, which I think is crucial. If you can't. Also, by the way, these are some of the coolest emblem, like, level progressions I've seen yet. Like, I love the color scheme on these Gambit pieces right here. These 5 are, I want this one.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'm digging it.
If I could add one more thing about Gambit that I just kind of find interesting too, is that I think this is probably amongst maybe, well, definitely within Destiny, but probably within any Bungie game, the most user-generated game type they've ever done. Meaning this is real. I feel like everything coming in Forsaken is very much community focused and generated.
Right.
I don't think they could have done anything else. I think they realized that we really need to just do what the community is telling us. And that's why I think you're getting so much positive feedback, because everyone's like, wow, they did it. They actually just did it for us, you know? It's great to see a company do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when I think they needed to hit rock bottom,
right?
So that they can understand, you know, what the community actually wanted, because we all know, we all felt, at least the most of us, at the end of the D1 life cycle, that they finally got systems in place.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not going to go too long on this because I'm going to make it a long point. But as me and Bontis have always talked about, you know, in D2, it definitely seemed to be a philosophy shift, right? It definitely seemed, when it launched, it definitely seemed to start catering more to a casual crowd and not that hardcore grind that we liked. And, you know, thanks to things like the Summit and other things that's transpired since, they've been slowly turning this thing around. And just like you said, Scream, it's been direct result of listening to the community and getting that back in there and getting those thought processes back in there. And the guys, you know, the bigger guys in the community, you know, flying out there and letting them have a special role. And I think all that contributed to it. And I think we're kind of seeing this little renaissance right now. And it's good to see.
Well, I think you guys took all the words, so yeah, you guys pretty much covered it. No, but seriously, like I mean, as you said, it's like January 1st, like some switch got turned, some authority was given to say, do whatever the hell you want to do to try and fix this game. And they've been given free reign to be more transparent with the community, bring people in, make the changes they need to, throw everything possible they can into Forsaken, not space it out. There's so much in Forsaken, I can't figure out what's actually going to be in the annual pass.
It's a whole new game. It's a whole new game.
Yeah, like, so, I mean, the fact that we have potentially story connecting to in-game, an actual in-game zone, which we've never experienced before.
Oh, I know. It's amazing.
We have the upside down. That's all I'll say about that. But there's so much on top of, like, we would always talk about for the longest time, like, story and Crucible and, okay, what's the Dreaming City? Occasionally I have to remind myself, Gambit's a thing. Like, it's your third bubble. And I'm just like, holy crap. So... no, I'm insanely hyped for this, and it's just one of those that now they've got a progression system all on its own. You're working together. Just even one more thing to grind. In case if you ever played World of Warcraft, there was a lot of crap to grind for reputations in there too, and yeah, we have our share now. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So they said to start designing infamy ranks, they wanted to be kind of granular, and they did a similar thing for Crucible. We'll talk about it later. They're splitting the ranks more into smaller tiers.
Right.
So each rank is going to have, like, I don't know if it's like, you know, Guardian 1, Guardian 2, Guardian 3, Brave 1, 2, and 3. I don't know how they're going to call it, but they're definitely going to break them into 3 tiers each. And then finally, your top tier and Legend is still going to be one big chunk. So if you're up there in the top, you are just in the top, which is... going to take some work, I'm sure, in this one. I also want the infamy ranks to function more like Valor. Each rank will require more infamy points than the last. Win streaks will reward win streak caps at 5, but doesn't get reset until you lose a match.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, so if you hold the streak for 10, I mean, just keep going.
Yeah, keep the momentum going, man. I really like that.
And your win streak will not be reset if you join a match in progress.
Nice.
Oh, that's great. That's a nice little...
That's nice.
Little additive, yeah.
Yep. So, in addition, they said you can earn infamy by completing Gambit bounties. So bounties are coming back all over the place. We've seen there's going to be more everywhere. He's going to have his share too. Each day, the Drifter will have a special selection of bounties. You can get, you know, once you reach level 50, there's also a special weekly bounty. You know, we've been asking about this one coming.
Yeah, this is for me.
This means war. So.
Yes, that's my baby. The true meaning of war. So as long as we get things like that are of equivalence, love it. I love it, man. Definitely time investment and engagement and keeping you in the mode. So I like to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that'll be a powerful piece of gear. That's another thing to pick instead of in your record. It's gonna
you're biting a little bit. You're biting a little bit.
Can you guys
see? Yeah, somewhat back now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Keep talking.
You're good.
Okay. The weekly the weekly bounty will award a large number of infamy points and a piece of powerful gear. So just in taking that stuff out of your milestone tray, as they said. And then did my stream just croak?
Yeah, you still like in and out a little bit. If you want me to start reading or whatever, let me know. But
yeah, you can talk about the back screen for a little while if you guys can see that one at all. So
yeah.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. I'll try to fix mine.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, yeah, like they were saying, was like, you know, obviously the weekly bounty, that kind of stuff. You know, they're gonna do things to kind of increase the infamy rank, which I like. And then as you scroll down, you see that you know, the Guardians, they look like some cool armor set. Scream, do you see this stuff? Like it's kind of like a new rocket launcher on this Warlock. There's like a little bird emblem going on. You know what I'm saying?
They're getting very niche.
Yeah, I like that. Like everything kind of specific.
Yeah.
To the actual region and that kind of stuff. So
go niche and be versatile, I say.
Love it. There you go. Now you're talking. You want to feel special when you get this gear, man. So
heads up, Cognito. Stop sharing for a second. You might try and reshare my screen or something like that.
Yeah, go for it. I'll share.
Yep. It should maybe.
Let me know if you're back. All right, so I'll rock on. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I'll rock on. Yeah, give me a second, and then we'll take this thing over from me. But hold on. All right, let's present. All right. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries, man. And that not behaving. I get it. Give me 1 second. All right. There we go.
I'm sorry.
No worries, man. No worries.
I'm struggling now for some reason. Don't know why.
All right.
Can you guys?
You still, you're still cutting in and out.
All right. You're gonna have to.
You gonna drop out?
Just
yeah, it's bad, bro. It's
Okay.
bad. Okay. Yeah, just come right back. Just come right back.
All right.
All right. So hopefully you guys can see what's going on with me. Let me know. So anyway, so pretty much, yeah, until we get E back, I'll take over this thing. So pretty much we scroll down into Shax, and he's got the looks like some new Crucible stuff going on screen. You checking this stuff out? He's got the
yeah, is that at the bottom of the page? I'm looking for.
Yeah, you scroll down, you see Shax going on right there. He's like starts off with the title Magnificent, if that part of the Bungie update.
Sorry, this is for the This Week at Bungie, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
This is for is it This Week at Bungie for August 9th, or is there a new one?
There is the newest one for the August 16th.
August 16th. Huh? Why? There we go.
Gotcha.
Why isn't why isn't that coming up? I'm sorry. I'm just please read it. And I will find it.
I'll talk. Don't worry about it. All right. So pretty much, basically, they said during their combat reveal stream, they used the Crucible as a proving ground to show off how the new weapon systems would work, and activities of Guardians in year 2. So then they brought one of the senior Crucible designers in there, and he basically talked. I believe this guy's Kevin Yanes, and he basically said he's glad to talk to us about how things are going to pretty much change going forward for the new season. So one of the things he mentioned was that his goal was to make earning a high rank in glory not feel like your second job. That was interesting. So glory ranks will be gained and lost. Glory rank points gained and lost have been retuned to reduce the overall climb to higher ranks. The weekly award has been fixed and its gains have been doubled. Then they said his next goal is to recognize the achievements of players who do not receive the weekly awards in Season 3. So the changes that were made in regards to this will be players who completed Season 3 will earn bonus rank points for completing their first match in Season 4, and it does not require the completion of any previous weekly milestones. The third goal he had for Crucible was to encourage more players to strive for higher glory ranks. This is interesting because a lot of people not playing glory as much. So the changes there, he's saying, are losses in the competitive playlist no longer reset your Valor win streak. Yeah, we're gonna stop in a minute. Radar has been re-enabled during competitive gameplay.
Oh.
Control and Clash will be added to the competitive playlist. Here's another one. Loss streaks have been removed. And finally, for this goal, we're currently investigating activity reconnections to competitive Crucible for players who encounter an error mid-game. This will not be available at the launch of Forsaken, but we are looking to add this feature post-launch. So based on these goals we've heard right now, Scream, like, what do you think about this stuff that they're talking about?
Well, adding Radar back to it definitely that changes up a Crucible playlist very dramatically, more than most people I think would give it credit for. In fact, if I was to think of like what is one of the more like fundamental changes you could make, right, to any sort of PvP game type in any game, not just Destiny, it would be either Radar or no Radar. As like somebody who kind of came up in the like the Halo 3, Halo 2 competitive days. And if anybody remembers that, not to talk about another game.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. This is Bungie. We got to talk.
Right.
You can't talk Bungie, not talk Halo.
And if you remember they had the MLG playlist, they had the hardcore playlist before that, and that was no Radar. There was there was a reason for that, was that if you were a good, it became more about gun skill and less about well, actually, no. It became a little bit more about gun skill as well as just map knowledge, rather rather than knowing maybe, you know, sort of timing your you know, when to attack or rather or sticking with your group.
Right.
Because I feel like when you go back to more of a radar based interaction system in any PvP game type, you really what you're really doing is you're really throwing it back on the game to do the things that you want more than the individual.
Gotcha.
So like when you're, you know, for example, in this, now that you'll have radar, you're most likely going to stick with your group a little bit more, and then, you know, kind of combine forces with everything that's you can bring to bear, not just your weapons, but your supers, your grenades, all of those things. Gotcha. Whereas like when you're no radar, that one lone wolf can kind of go off on his own and using his own personal skill, take out, you know, more people perhaps because they're just not prepared for him. They're not ready for him.
That is correct. Now
so that changes. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, finish your point, Scream, and then
I'll ask you a question. So that changes. You know, it changes it in that way. That being said, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing because that game type, I feel, or that specific playlist, I feel like was kind of was suffering a little bit. I feel like it wasn't as accessible as I liked it, but that doesn't mean that it's where it needs to be, because I found that even if I wanted to play it, I had trouble getting into games because there really wasn't enough people. It would take a while. You know,
it would take a while.
Significantly longer.
Yeah, it would take longer. Definitely.
And as someone who always likes to pair like multiple stacking of different things that I'm doing that day, you know, I always like to be able to do like my Crucible bounties and stuff. I would love to be able to play that playlist for those things, but it just, you know, would take too long. And
all right, so you pretty much answered the question I was going to ask you, was that what about when no radar was initially introduced for competitive modes like competitive and trials? Like, what was your initial thought on that? I'm very curious as to now, you know, they remove. Well, when you first heard, look, they're gonna remove it. Like, what was your mindset then?
Well, for a light level enabled PvP type, which was what Trials initially was, I always kind of thought in D1 Trials should be no radar.
Okay.
But mostly because one, it was meant to be a competitive playlist, but also because light level was enabled, you had an advantage if you had a higher light level, but that advantage could be diminished by a skilled player who knows how to work a flank and work with different people. So in that sense, I actually thought when light level is enabled, maybe not for Iron Banner, but for Trials, I thought it was actually a kind of a good thing. I enjoyed it, even though most people they didn't.
Gotcha.
But I actually like that because it really did feel competitive, and I didn't feel like I was just kind of getting trounced by people who had the best gear all the time.
Gotcha.
Which is, you know, it's part of it. I know it's light level enabled. They want you to grind for gear, but it should also be one of those things where you should want the gear in the game type. So you should want to have that feeling of like, I want to play this more, regardless if I'm winning or losing.
Right.
And
because almost that gear is the carrot, right? Like that's the incentive to make you keep wanting to go and go forward.
Right. And I felt like sometimes the frustration of Trials with radar, kind of, it was, and I don't know if it really affected me so much as it would always affect somebody on the team. You know, there would always be somebody who after that first loss was just like, I'm done, you know, and then, right. So I like that, you know, I don't know I don't know what they're going to do with Trials. That's a big, you know, that's a softball way up in the air, and I don't know who's going to catch it. But as for this game type, I think honestly, if it encourages people to play it more, and that's what I think is the most important.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick on that. Yeah, these were huge to me when I saw these bullet points. I was like, you know, as a fellow Crucible guy, I was like, wow, there's just some changes. You know what I'm saying? Because they're actually stepping back on the radar. You know, the lost streaks on the lost streaks, I think, will be controversial to some of the hardcore community, only for the standpoint that, you know, and we'll get to infamous Redrix later, but you know, only for the people who love that challenge and they want to feel special for acquiring this rare item, right? Because as we know right now, the way it stands, you know, Redrix only like a small percentage of the community even has the gun, right?
Right.
And the lost streaks really kind of deterred you because you went on a streak, then you lose, you know, you lose more, you know, glory as you lose more. So I mean, it definitely can be discouraging, and it can definitely be, you know, something people don't want to invest a lot of time in if they're having issues. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, is this casualizing the mode? You know what I mean? And the other thing is, you know, as far as the radar, I'll be honest, when I was first heard about it, I was like, okay, I like it, right? Make it more hardcore. You know, you got to use your wedge. It's going to break up the whole team shot mechanic that seems to be plaguing Destiny 2. Everybody kind of groups up. Like you said, one person can go off on that flank and then kind of, you know, maybe do their own thing. But after playing a lot of competitive, I've kind of changed my tune on it. It's just, you know, it's not that it's not fun. I just see that people get so frustrated.
Yeah.
That they just like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with this mode. You know what I'm saying? So that I thought was interesting. So that they're going with that. And as far as that last bullet point, as far as the you know, they're looking into the whole reconnection to a competitive Crucible match, you know, and whoever person who drops or, you know, error mid game, I think that's huge. And I also would like them that to extend to, you know, let's say you're playing, you drop a competitive match, you guys drop the first two. I've been on teams where people just leave. So you know,
they don't say anything, they're just gone one minute.
So now it's just this 2-on-4 or 1-on-4 massacre, and I felt the player like myself who's actually has integrity and stayed in the game should have something in place to be rewarded for that, you know. So that's where I'm at with that. What about you? And then we move on to these next goals.
Yeah, and I would also say that, like, you know, you need people to want to play the playlist. And if with the lost streaks, I mean, you just, even as someone who played PvP, you know, avidly, I would never really go into that playlist unless I had at least one or two other people playing with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because, you know, you're gonna lose. If you're on your own, you're never gonna get to 5. You might. I've won 4 in a row.
Yes.
Several times, but there's always that one, and it's just because eventually you're gonna get somebody who's just bullet fodder, and
a potato, a blueberry,
and you can't really do anything about that. And then, you know, your whole it's discouraging, and you know, you want to feel as though you can just jump in on your own. I've always said that Destiny is one of those things where it's the greatest game to play with friends, and it's the most like accessible game, one of the more accessible games to play by yourself. So it's like, you know, you want it's better with friends, but there's a lot to do when you're just by yourself. So like, I always want to feel as though I can just make the progression on my own, and then when I have a friend, we just go that much faster.
I hear you. No, but great points. So hold on. El Boogie asks, what do you mean by radar? So basically, El Boogie, it's basically the upper right hand corner in Crucible. There's usually this quadrant of red indicators that let you know how close and what direction an enemy is from you. So that's pretty much what we talk about in reference to that. So yeah, so I'm gonna move on to these other goals. So we've got that, and then now the other goal they talked about is removing the time pressures associated with glory ranks, right? So he says Pinnacle Crucible rewards are now awarded via quests. Some of the quests will ask you to engage with Valor or glory ranks. Then it said these quests will not go away at the end of the season. So this is going to be an ongoing thing. Now let's get to the juicy part. Scream. Here we go. Redrix Claymore is being retired in season 4.
Oh no.
Players who have already earned the weapon will still be able to equip it and use it. Players will be unable to earn Redrix Claymore beyond season 3. Now we continue to the more drama in the community right now. Shaxx will offer a new quest that players can compete to earn Redrix Broadsword, a companion weapon to Redrix Claymore. Redrix Broadsword features a similar talent arrangement, but it does not share the lore and triumphs associated with the Claymore. Once you've earned the weapon, random roll versions of Redrix Broadsword will stop dropping from Crucible engrams. Each drop will have the trademark Outlaw and Desperado perk. That's the one that Claymore has now. So the new one also will have, each drop will have randomized barrels, magazines, and masterwork perks. Players who earned Redrix Claymore in Season 3 will receive additional bonuses. These owners will be granted an exclusive emblem when redeeming the corresponding triumph. Claymore owners will also be eligible for drops of Redrix Broadsword from Crucible engrams, even without completing the corresponding quest. And finally, a new Crucible reward will be added via quest in Season 4. So this is a lot to digest in reference to Redrix. Now, Scream, if you haven't been paying attention, the community...
I was there with you.
Okay, the community is going nuts.
I can imagine.
Right. So we all know the history of Redrix Claymore, how difficult it is. Bungie has put out the numbers in reference to the percentage of people who actually have it. It may be like, 1 to 5% if we did our math. I'm not sure, but it's very low percentage of people who actually have this gun. I've been trying. It's difficult. So I want to present this to you now based on this information. What I've been hearing is that a lot of people feel this is unfair. They feel that if they had the, obviously they had the Claymore, now they feel like Bungie is giving it away. What's your mindset? What's your take on all of this Redrix Claymore versus Redrix Broadsword stuff?
Well, with a lot of these things, when they say that something is being removed and replaced with something else because A was too much or too difficult, and now B is going to be a little bit. I always sort of take a watch and wait approach as like how it really depends. Is Redrix Claymore still going to be that much better than the corresponding weapon and the broadsword? And if they're generally the same, with maybe like the Claymore having a couple extra perks, you're going to upset 5% of the population,
right?
Which they're hardcore PvP guys. They'll continue to play, believe me. If it's extremely, if those like 2 little things that you get, or whatever the little extra that you get from having it previous to Forsaken really improve the game that much, you're gonna upset a lot of people, like a lot of people. So I'm curious. I would say that overall, I think these things are generally good. Is it exactly what I would have done when you've just implemented a weapon in the last expansion and now you're sort of replacing it? Would have been my way of doing it. I don't really know exactly. I always kind of am like of the idea that even though we have exotic, and this is kind of going to a bigger sandbox thing, even though we have exotic quest lines, I always thought that there should be for example, Shax sells this weapon, that there should be some sort of like sub arc quest line that maybe is different. It doesn't have to be the same as a exotic quest line, but that allows you a chain to maybe get this weapon.
Well, that's exact. It's funny you said that. That's exactly what they intend to do.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So
okay, maybe I missed that part.
No, it's cool. It's cool. But basically, what they're doing is this. So just to simplify all the rhetoric that they're spewing.
Oh, please break it down for me.
Basically, what it is like, okay, so if you have Redrix Claymore, right? You obviously keep it to Season 4, but this new version, which is this Redrix Broadsword, which is basic, all it is Redrix Claymore with random rolls.
Right.
That's what Broadsword is. So what the community is upset is they're saying, hey, now these guys get a chance to get the gun. What Bungie is saying is, hey, you guys that already earned it, right? You, just by playing Crucible, you'll be able to get it out of a random Crucible drop. Whereas the community that doesn't have it have to go through the whole quest.
Am I alive? Am I
alive?
Oh,
my man is back. No doubt. That network is
it's alive.
It's alive. It's helping you out now.
I resetted that thing twice, kicked the modem in the face, and then finally it felt like answering for me. So
he returns, man. You return at the best part I wanted to talk to you about too. It's like, damn, we're not gonna be able to have the discussion. So we're up to the infamous Redrix Claymore versus Broadsword, and me and Scream was just breaking it down. So just to simplify it, what we basically was going over was the fact that Redrix Broadsword is basically Claymore with random rolls. That's just what it's basically going to be, the better version of Claymore. Now, for the people who had Claymore, when they come into season 4, they're going to get some type of emblem, and they're going to get, instead of getting Broadsword off the jump, when they play Crucible, when Engrams drop, their chances to get it will be increased and have that accessibility off the top. Whereas someone who's never gotten Claymore and is playing, Crucible, they have to complete the quest to go get it. You know what I'm saying? They have to go through, and apparently it's very difficult. They're saying that it's going to be an extremely difficult quest to get it, and that's how they can do it. So the argument now with the community is like, hey, this is not special. For the guys that have it, it's like we don't feel special anymore. So what do you feel based on all this Claymore stuff, E? Where you at with it?
I mean, as I'm not one who really sees myself even getting it in the next few weeks, it's nice to have the option to get. No, it's nice to have the option to get something for me later. Like now, for the ones who grinded that, like their butts off for it, and like everybody who gets Redrix Claymore, you had 190,000 people who had Whisper, which is not an easy thing to do. I was dragging my brother literally through that. Like me and one other guy finished the mission as he landed in the final boss fight. So like we basically 2-man the whole thing, and it's like, and that's a fun, cool challenge, but not an easy one to do. Like 8,000 people in comparison had Redrix. I mean, that's so I mean, it would have been cool if they would have given it some other perk sets, and also I just don't want another duplicate. Right. For me, like another thing's just Outlaw and Desperado coming back the same way. I do think it kind of takes away from the ones who actually spent the time to get it. Now, if it was another thing, if they had a bonus of doing something, they got like some recognition, and there was something they got for doing it, that'd be really cool. But you're basically kind of shooting them a little bit.
Well, they are getting a reward for having Claymore. Basically, they're gonna get like some emblem and some lore and stuff, triumphs associated with it. The minute they actually attempt Crucible, as soon as they log, go to Shacks. If they've had a Redrix Claymore, they're gonna get this stuff. So we're assuming emblem, some other special lore stuff, some triumph thing, some type of special reward for these guys. Maybe not be the most grandiose, but they are getting something. You know what I'm saying? But we have to remember too, like you were saying, E, is that like you said, you weren't excited as much as just that Outlaw Desperado combo. The Broadsword is gonna have like randomized barrels, random rolls, magazines, and masterwork perks. So, and Broadsword is gonna be different. And you can, with random rolls, you might be able to get some, some crazy combinations there. So even with that information, you feel like it's still not enough for the hardcore guys that had work grinded for it? E?
No, I'm here. I didn't drop this. Try to gather my thoughts. You throw like, here's 20,000 things. Think real fast. I'm sorry. No. I'm trying to. I missed all the fun part.
I know. Uh-oh. It's turning into a Decepticon again. Yeah, it's happening, man. I know the network today has not been kind to you. Up. Yeah, it's like half and half. We'll see. But I was gonna say, Scream.
Yes.
Final verdict, man. Final verdict on this thing, man.
Final verdict is, I think there's always going to be a certain number of people that are upset by things. I think in this case, they're limiting that number, which it might be just the lesser of two evils. Either you upset, like, as you say, maybe 5% of the population, or you upset or you continue, or you leave it how it is, which I don't know if that's necessarily, that might be the best option in my opinion, of just kind of leaving it, and maybe with the fact that there's the new loss, or just the new win streak in that playlist, you know,
Right.
the new whip, you might, you know, you probably will, you'll see that number climb where it won't be like 5% of the population. I bet if you just left it how it is and they changed how the playlist functions, I bet you would see that number climb up to about 25%, which I feel like maybe where that should be.
Okay.
But you know, I mean, if we're really just kind of renaming things here and and they do get something out of it, I think it's really going to be kind of based on what that, I know they've kind of stipulated what they will get, but that doesn't always, seeing it doesn't always really tell you how satisfying it's going to feel.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So, you know, I'm sure that there'll be some people upset either way. Is it something that I think is going to be the like the make or break of that gun or that playlist or Crucible or Forsaken? I think it'll probably be fairly low on the totem pole.
Yeah.
You know, as if they felt it needed to be changed, I can understand that. I feel like maybe I'm lacking a little bit of developer insight, which might be more, might be very needed for this specific case. But I'm not going to be upset by it.
I'll jump in and then we'll move on with Barry Redrix for the show. Listen, I mean, selfishly, as a person who did not get Redrix, you know, and that, trust me, I'm still trying. You know what I mean? I actually like the idea of this like prestige weapon that only a small percentage of the population will have, because it was a bragging rights. It was a term of, you know, like a being proud in the tower, you know, like, look at this, what I have. And I think that's what make Destiny Destiny. I remember first playing Trials. I mean, seeing people in the tower with Trials gear and Trials. Wow, I remember they had the Egyptian god. Be like, what is that? You know, it just made me want to grind harder for it. So I felt that was the right direction. Now, when you know, the next season is coming out, I was very curious, like, how are they going to handle it? So I had a strong feeling, obviously, it was going to go away in some capacity. They would introduce a new gun, which I believe is the Luna's Howl pistol. Everyone's saying it's supposed to be crazy. So I was very curious about the fate of Redrix. So me myself was personally grinding now to have it, you know, just so it was unique going in. I am happy that Broadsword exists, because I did feel that ultimately when random rolls and all these other weapons, Redrix Claymore was going to be outclassed at some point, right? You're going to find a weapon, even though that no weapon exists with the Outlaw Desperado combination, you figure guns with rolls are going to just outright outperform the gun. Right. So I was happy to see that it was coming back. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's just like you said, Scream. It's like one half of the larger half is like, yeah, I never got a chance to get that gun. You know, now with random rolls, you know, I can go back in. There's going to be no more lost streaks. Let's go. And then you got the other half that are like, yo, wait a minute. You just cheapened my entire grind. Like, I get that emotion. I get that sentiment, you know, so I think you nailed it on the head. It all comes down to how these rewards are, you know, received for the people who grind. If it's really majestic, if it's really something that stands out, if it satisfies the community so that that blow is lessened, I'm all for it. But if it's like, hey, here's a shader, here's an emblem, get out of here.
Yeah, that's good. That'll upset some people. That will definitely upset some people off. Yeah. And I would say I totally agree with you in that I've always felt as well that Destiny is kind of a game that I think benefits from the idea of certain people have just gotten certain things. Certain people have gotten either lucky or they grinded for it. And there's a certain percentage of the population that has it. Because honestly, it motivates a community like no other thing that I've seen.
Perfectly.
So I completely agree with that prospectus on it. So yeah, I think it's gonna really come down to that to see how upset that 5% of the population gets. I think it would have been fun if they maybe had done something where I think they are doing something like that, but maybe like if you have it defeating, you know, this many enemies with it in PvE opens it up to you know, something else, or if you need to do a certain amount of things to allow it to become accessible in
which is what they're hinting, because it's a long quest line. It's hard. So I'm expecting, you know, it's not going to be easy. I think the vibe I'm getting is they're going to respect the time of the original owners by letting the new owners know, hey, if you want this, you're going to have to do an insane grind on this quest.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're going to have to use, you know, grenade launcher kill. I mean, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, the vibe I'm getting, I mean, again, I could be wrong, but based on the tone of the text in the TWAB, it definitely seems like this is going to be like the true meaning of war on steroids. Like, you're going to have to do some things, you know what I'm saying, to get this thing. So
I really like that alliteration, by the way. Tone of the text in the 12. I like that.
No doubt. So we've beaten Redrix to death. Let's move on with the last goal. Continue to promote Rumble as a third mode. So the changes, earning a place in the top 3 in Rumble will now count as a win. And the correct number of Valor rank points will be granted. So if you committed to any of the rank ladders that were established in Season 3, thanks for making the fight lively. We support the competitive community, no matter your skill or mood. Keep feedback coming. So they're trying to just keep on improving the Crucible. So are you a Rumble guy or not?
This I have a lot to say about.
Woo,
I might have more to say about this than even any other PvP type.
Let's go,
because I am a huge Rumble guy.
Okay,
huge Rumble guy. I used to play in those Halo like first to 100 Rumble tournaments. You know, or is this like a 3-hour game? I've loved any kind of Rumble playlist in any sort of game for forever, and I've always it was one of those things that when it wasn't here, I was upset. I was really sad for a very long time. When it came back, I'm so glad that it's a constant now, because there was a few when it would come as the weekly playlist, it was like honestly all I played.
Nice. Rumble guy. I like that. Nice.
I love Rumble, and this as far as rewards go, I think is the best possible way you can do it, because those top 3 guys are usually pretty close. I mean, I've lost one, sometimes by 1 kill, and it's, you know, 20, it's like me and the 2 other guys who are in the top 3 are like at 26, everybody else is at 14, and I'm just like, I should be getting something for this, you know, like I should do something for I should be getting something for consistently doing well.
Yes,
because I will play this playlist more than anything else if I feel like I can.
Right. Absolutely.
But that was sort of the thing that was preventing me, was that this was the playlist that I loved to play the most, but it was probably the one that I was going to achieve the least progression in as far as any PvP. You know, just because the odds are against you. The odds are always against you in that game.
Absolutely. Standing on your own, fighting, like that's not that man. It's not easy.
So making it kind of like a 50-50 thing, I think is good.
All right, cool. So you're good with the top 3. You're good with that.
I am. I think that's a really fun change. And, you know, if they had wanted to maybe nuance it a little bit more, like I'm trying to remember what game did it, but it was like, well, actually, I don't know if it was, I think it was a Halo game, but I don't think it was specifically for the game. I think there was an online tournament a while back that I remember what they did was, if you got first, you got so many points. If you got second, you got a few less. And it went down to, I don't think you ever got 0 points. Right. It was just kind of like you
just had that scale from, you know.
Right, that scale. And if you, I think it was, there was something like if you progressed so many, you know, if you finished in such and such a place for so many times, there was like a bonus you could get or a bonus you could unlock. You know, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be that nuanced for one specific playlist, but overall, I think it's a good change.
Nice, man. I'm with you, man. I mean, I haven't got a chance to really get in a lot of Rumble in D2 like I used to play in D1, but I was very happy it came back. You know, I like the change from 8 to 6. As much as I thought 8 might be cool, I'm glad they brought it to 6. It was a little too much chaos. And
a little bit too trouble with spawns.
Spawns were horrible. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely glad about that. So yeah, this is cool, man. And then like just, you know, overall with these changes, I just think it's one of those things that it's like, I definitely can see some of the hardcore competitive community overall. I'm not just talking about Rumble, talking about like the glory stuff, the streaks being stopped. You know, I can see some of the hardcore competitive guys, you know, might raise their eyebrows like, oh, now you're making it easy. You know, I get that. But at the same time, I think I'm going with what your thought process is, Scream, which is I think Bungie may be looking at it and say, look, there's so many of the community that is not even experiencing it and they're not playing the mode. Right. So it's like, you know, they're going in, They go on, you know, they get 1 win, and the next thing is a 4 streak, and your valor goes down from whatever down to brave.
Right.
You know, and it's like, you know, from whatever is it, mythic, legend, whatever those, you know, those other ones are, heroic.
Yep.
And, you know, I think they're looking at like, look, we gotta make it a little bit more accessible, you know, and I don't have a necessarily, but I don't feel that the changes are that extreme. We just got to see how the Redrix thing plays out. I'm very curious about that. But other than that, you know, I'm okay. What about you overall with all these changes so far as Crucible? You okay?
I mean, overall, I could, yeah. I mean, we could probably talk. I could probably talk, you know, at length about, you know, all the little things that maybe are this or that or the other. But I mean, I'm doing it out of sheer love. It's like, you know, if I'm a teacher, this is a student who wrote not just an A+ paper, but, you know, you think he's going places.
Yeah, I got you. All right, fair enough.
And you really want to scrutinize them as much as you can. And I think this has always been my case with Destiny. Is I've always really liked scrutinizing it, because it was just so unique to me and I enjoyed it so much. Absolutely. It's like that parent who just wants to see their kid do well.
Absolutely.
Great analogy. They got so much, so much potential.
So much potential, and you have so much enjoyment with it. So you just want this thing to be better.
Right.
So, yeah, I hear you.
And if I say one more thing about the Rumble thing,
go for
specifically, is just that you know, the top 3, that's really there's not going to be any real, you know, I don't know if on an online database, I mean, I don't know how they'll run it. They usually do their own algorithms. I don't know if, you know, the top 3 finishes as far as counting as a win, I think will only really go so far as to satisfy those people who want to play a playlist and feel as though they can progress.
Yes.
And not to any sort of bragging rights standpoint, because the guys who play it for the competitive, they're never going to be satisfied with a second place, even if they get a good reward. They'll just say, okay, well, at least I don't have to, you know, at least I'm getting something else for my trouble. For me, you know, like I'm always going for the win anyway. It'll just encourage me to play it more, and moreover, it'll encourage a lot more people to play it.
And I think ultimately you nailed it. I think that's the design goal, I think, out of all of these changes. So we shall see. So we're going to get into the next part, which is getting social. So you talk about, you know, the launch of Destiny 2. They were taking feedback from guided games, matchmaking systems, from the social team. So they brought in design lead Steve Dolan to detail the changes that will happen to make it easier to keep your fire team together. So and he also has news for clan features. So basically he's talking about the upcoming changes to social systems, and he's going to start with the strikes, I believe. So fire teams that are formed in some activities will now stay together once the activity is complete.
Oh.
Yeah, this applies to the following: strikes, Gambit, and Crucible. He said, note, this does not apply to competitive Crucible. So they trying to stop that love there. Additionally, the Crucible match ends by a mercy ruling or the scores are wildly disproportional. Players will be put back into matchmaking to find a new team. And activity reconnection, starting with Forsaken. If you disconnect from a guided game, you'll be offered the opportunity to reconnect to the activity if it's still active. We will reserve your spot, you know, for up to 3 minutes.
That's great.
That's good. That's a good change. After that, guides will be able to backfill the guided game with seekers that are currently in the queue. Then when it comes to guided raids, these reconnections, will help with individual player disconnects. In the case that an entire fire team disconnects, we want to minimize the impact to raid teams. Going forward, players will be able to take their raid checkpoints out of guided games and use them in the normal version of the raid. If you all disconnect, form up your fire team again and head into the normal version to continue on your path to total raid destruction. So this is a lot to digest, just this section right here.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I'm going to start with at the top. I think this is fantastic. I think with the fire teams aspect, I can count on a number of times that I've done, you know, either match made heroic strikes or match made, you know, Crucible, you know, and one, you would like to, especially if it's a good group and you see these guys, you know, you don't even have to communicate, and these guys got a good strategy down. They're laying the rifts down, and they got the lunafaction boots, and you know,
everything's working.
Yeah, they melting ball. I'm like, oh, I like these guys. And then the match ends, and you had a good feeling, and then you go back to orbit, and it's a whole new group again. So do miss that because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Scream, in D1 with strikes, I thought we did stay together, right? If you did randomized matchmaking on like a strike, would they keep the same group together onto the next one? If they didn't
in heroic strikes, I'm assuming you're referring to heroic strikes?
Even regular strikes, just regular strikes. Am I wrong for thinking that they kept people together?
God, it's been a minute.
It's been a long, I know.
It's been I feel as though there was something like that.
Right.
But
I remember. I
not always, maybe. I don't remember if it was like that at the start. It might have been implemented later.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we're going to have that for strikes. We're going to have that for Gambit. We're going to have that for Crucible. So I'm assuming not Glory, but like they said, Valor, hey, if you're playing Valor and there's a good group going, you guys, win the match, you get the opportunity to just stay with that team if you just don't press anything and exit. You know what I mean? Right. So that's that. So overall with Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible, is that a go for you? Is it a no for you? Where you at with this?
I think it's good. I hope it has the effect that they want. Again, I think it might come down to sort of the implementation of it. It's like I simply staying in the game is great. I hope people will know enough to do that, as well as like what I mean by that is sometimes I think people need a visual cue.
Yes.
So like I would have liked if they're, or maybe they have done this, or maybe this is how it'll be. But if there was some sort of like opt-in, opt-out like button, so like at the end of the game it says, like,
good point.
Would you like to stay with these people? Click on this. Because I've seen other games that have done something like that, and it really like a ready up kind of thing.
Yes, that visual cue, almost in the UI.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's a good thing overall. It's certainly something that I felt the dissuagement, I think, if that's the word, of seeing like a really good group just disappear and go, oh man, and I'm trying to track them down.
Man, trying to get those gamer tags quick.
Right.
I get
so I think a lot of it comes down to how I see that, if or how it displays itself, if it's always a good thing overall. And I just hope it from the onset it works out the way that they hope, or has as much effect as they hope.
Absolutely. Now, in reference to the reconnections section, when they were talking about disconnecting from guided games, or guided raids, where they are almost giving that 3 minutes to get somebody back in the queue.
Yeah, all that stuff is fantastic.
All right, so you're good with that.
Oh yeah, that stuff is fantastic. I mean, the fact that they've been able, something I think is maybe. I don't really want to like diss on them at all at this point, because I really think they've done, when you see somebody making such a big effort, you kind of just want to say, okay, things forgiven, maybe a little bit overdue.
Yes. Yes, especially guided games.
But that's all I'll say about it. That's all the negative.
Fair enough. We giving them a little credit for some quality of life stuff.
They are. They're up in their game a bit. So.
No doubt. All right. Clan update. So since launch, 50% of you have hit max rank in your clans. Going into Forsaken, there are two major things that we wanted to improve with clans. Give you more reason to play with your clanmates and make clan perks more interesting. So this is how clan XP is changing. When you start your journey in Forsaken, Hawthorne will have 3 daily bounties. They can be completed alone or with a fire team to grant a small amount of clan XP. Once your character reaches the new level 50, Hawthorne will add 3 additional weekly bounties that grant larger amounts of clan XP, but require you to fire team up with your clanmates. So here's an example of some of those perks that will be impactful for the clan stuff, which is rank 3, increased resilience when you're in a fire team with clanmates.
Huh.
Interesting. Yeah.
That is.
Rank 5 grants a chance to receive additional etheric and barren resources. I'm gonna guess this is all reef stuff. When collecting them in the reef. What if etheric light comes back and I hear etheric? Rank 6 The weekly clan milestone also grants a masterwork core. Oh yeah. Ooh. Scream. What do you feel about all of this?
Well, I mean, that is interesting.
Yes.
that's really interesting. Yeah, honestly, wow, something I didn't really think they would do, or at least it's gonna. I mean, I think that's gonna play big into how many into clans which have I feel like sort of been left in the periphery a little bit. I would like to see more clan inactive stuff. With the, I think bounties on Hawthorne just alone is a great idea. And yeah, that's sort of, I mean, I really like the whole perk with the group thing. Yeah, that's cool. I really enjoy. And yeah, I think clans will just build from that. Absolutely. Which I think is a good thing. Yeah. So overall, I mean, as something that I wasn't even aware that they were going to be doing, I can't say anything. I don't think I could have any negative. There's any negative comment I could have about that. I don't see it having any sort of downside whatsoever, other than just improving, player to player participation.
Absolutely, man. I think these are great. I think a lot of it is, you see the mindset seems to be for them to really encourage clans and clan grouping and joining a clan to show the benefit of it. I think resilience is like, whoa, that's big. Yeah, that's big. You get increased resilience the way the system works right now between recovery and resilience. We all know mobility ain't doing much these days, but the reality is just like that. That's a big deal. It promotes team play. You get more resources, and I'm a big masterwork core guy.
That's a big thing too, and how important those are going to be.
Exactly, especially with Forsaken, especially with the new commitment to leveling up the weapons. It's going to require a lot of cores now to go through that process of leveling up these legendaries. Each stage grants a little bit more. I don't know if you got a chance to see that combat reveal stream.
I think yes. Oh yes, the long one. Yeah, where they went through the whole. That, I mean, that was a little bit.
It was a bit. It's information overload. But one thing that caught my eye was that the old way of upgrading, turning something into a masterwork, is definitely changing. And each time you put a core in, or like the first levels or whatever, is going to ask for glimmer. When you get to the higher levels, I believe 7 is the max. Ebonsis was here; he would correct me if I was wrong. But I think what it is now, once you get to a certain part, let's just assume it's like 5 through 7. I could be wrong. Those are going to ask for cores. So cores now going to be more essential than ever. So any type of source to get cores, I think it's a huge deal now, especially with these roles and everything going on right now. So this is good stuff. This is good stuff.
I smell some core farming method videos in my future. Which I very, very, very much look forward to.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. The core loot cave.
The core loot cave. Oh man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, too funny.
I love all that stuff.
You love it. Players gonna find out exploits and everything. Right now, Striker Titans are running around.
Oh yeah,
with that glitch. So.
Oh boy, what a glitch that is too.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, I like the idea of, I was always in vanilla Destiny. I'm really talking about vanilla Destiny, when you had the weapons that you'd unlock the perks and then you had to infuse the power brackets in. I kind of liked that. I always just wished, I was just like, this would be great. The only thing I wish they did was, I wish that this wasn't just a power thing. I wish it was a power thing, but it was because of what you were unlocking on it. You know what I mean? Like you infused some stuff that unlocked those additive perks. Like they're really upped. And it could have been just a name at that point. It might have just been an aesthetic thing where it was I don't know if I just
up those nodes screen.
Right, like give me some variation on those nodes.
And you had to go through every node to unlock that perk, so that feeling of accomplishment. I got you.
Right. And I just always was kind of like, I just wish it said something else other than just power. Like I wish it just said something like, the Slayer of Worlds, you know, just something crazy along those lines. And it would just be, it would have just made it more fun. But I like that there was always like that material thing that you needed to get, as well as unlocking it. So it was like you need to unlock them and then you need to find the materials. I felt like that. And I think I honestly feel like they've sort of given me my aesthetic need as well as gone back to that a bit. So,
yes, I would agree with you. I will
props to them on that.
Props to them. I think that the casual community probably does not miss any of that, though. Just running around Earth, the Cosmodrome, looking for spin metal and what was all those old material, relic irons?
Relic irons, spin metal, fusion cores.
Oh my god, I remember those materials, man. Those were a grind. But I understand what you're saying in the standpoint that for the hardcore MMO sensibility and for us guys that had that addiction, part of us does miss that. Like,
we do.
You know, it was part of our daily process that was ingrained in us. And it's like, I got this gun, but I haven't unlocked the full potential yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like now I got to go get this stuff. And I definitely, there's a certain aspect that misses it. I can't lie. Like,
and I kind of see it also from like the more casual perspective too, especially at this point in D2 is like we're kind of putting the toothpaste back in the tube a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily an easy sell to people because you're essentially saying I mean, like going back to vanilla D1, you know, it's like one of those things where if a buddy of yours in the first month had like 2 or 3 exotics, you were like, oh man, like, what have you been doing? No life. Where it's not like, you know, now everybody had several in the first day or two, or you know, the hardcore grind. So I kind of like going back to that, like, you know, being able to, what are you doing? You know,
absolutely. Let me speak to my chat for a second.
Go ahead,
he's saying this resilience, and is it PvP resilience? I don't know, man. That's a good question. I mean, they haven't specified if that clan resilience is going to be across both modes or one. I mean, I would assume it's both. They didn't specify it. Usually, remember the old terminology screen would be like, you know, increase this against enemies of the dark.
Right.
Yeah. So we're not seeing that terminology. So I'm gonna say Sinister. It may be across the board in all activities. So,
if it's across the board, that is super interesting.
Yeah,
that is super interesting. Clan. That means if it is across the board, they're really. That means that clans are a major priority.
Yes,
not to say that they've never been, but like pushing that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like we're getting there. It says express yourself, and they've got this cool little emote going down. So they're giving us a sneak peek of one of these emotes coming on September 4th. Looks like a little Titan there hitting a swing, a little virtual swing, which is kind of interesting. I'm like, okay.
It was like I scrolled down to that as you were saying it, and that was just a perfectly timed.
I'm pulling my inner Ebontis right. I'm holding it down for my guy. He does stuff like that. So yeah, man. So it looks like I said, they say like it's just like you said. If you don't have a clan, someone's always recruiting. They want you to get out there. So now we're gonna go into going out with a bang, and this is about the Crucible Labs. So next week, a new mode will be featured in Crucible Labs. We're expecting explosive results. And senior designer Andrew Weldon, he's here to set the stage. So pretty much Andrew gets out and he talks about this past weekend. They've had I haven't touched Crucible Labs at all. So I don't know if you have.
I did the first time it was here. I missed the second time because I was actually on vacation, but I enjoyed it. I think it's a cool thing. Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing. Now I'm maybe you can answer this question for me. Is it based off of user-generated games?
From my understanding, it is not. It is these are modes that they intend on maybe implementing at some point during the life cycle of Destiny 2. Okay. But they want feedback. You know, they really want feedback before they just throw it in the wild. So from my understanding, you know, they had some other mode. Damn, I wish you was here because he played. I have not touched Crucible Labs once, but I do remember when the announcement happened and what they said the mindset going in was for it. And I definitely do remember them saying, hey, we're going to, you know, try these modes. We get your feedback. You felt this, you felt that. We're going to do this. We're going to change that. That was kind of like the vibe. So, now basically, they said that people have had touched this updated version of Showdown, and based on, they said the information, they're going to make some changes on that. And they said they received feedback on both these two modes that they introduced, which is Lockdown and Showdown. They said that the feedback was that both modes felt too tilted towards the competitive playlist style of gameplay, which is the 4x4, 4v4, round based, higher stakes, etc. And they say you guys are right. That was the target experience for both modes. This next time around, they're going to swing the pendulum the other way. So I'm gonna guess this is more of a casual playlist that they're gonna do. And it's gonna be called Scorched. So they're saying this is a mode with very deep, complex, and serious rules. And here's the sarcasm: you spawn with a scorch cannon. Everyone else spawns with a scorch cannon. You shoot each other with scorch cannons. That's it.
Enough said.
That's it. So I guess they've heard the feedback and they want to try another mode. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, just run around with scorch cannons and blow people up. So what do you think about this?
I don't know why, but an analogy of a joke a friend of mine said he would play on his child when he would have one. This was years ago. I hope this doesn't run off the rails too much. Is that he said he would love to play the joke of, one day my son's just going to come downstairs and I'm going to have 3 glasses on the table. I'm going to go, 2 of these are apple juice, one's not.
Yeah. That's good.
And I don't know why, but for some reason that triggered that in me, and that like it's going to be a fricas, but it'll probably be a glorious one.
It's glorious.
A glorious fricas.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So they're right with Crucible Labs as a whole. I think that a tester game type game mode is great. Yeah. I hope one of the things that I kind of hoped that they did with it was that that you could still maybe earn some reputation from it in some way, that it wasn't sort of just so standalone. Because I think honestly, if somebody's willing to kind of, if they're invested enough to want to go and test different archetypes of playlists, that's a cool person. That's somebody who's really loves especially the PvP side of this game. So kind of give them that. I didn't know if, and this is, I'm just sort of ignorant to this fact, is I wasn't sure if this was the question I had before, if all of those playlists were based off of private match generated games, or if it was the basically just Bungie saying these are some things that we like, that we think could work, and that we want to maybe do, and before we just put them out there based on previous negative feedback, we want you guys to kind of give us our
literally
first, right?
The vibe from what I'm hearing with this thing, which is your second point,
right? So I think that's good unto itself. I think if there was some kind of like I don't sort of refer to the Forge in Halo, where you could create a Forge map that eventually would every month or so they would review it, and your map could end up in the MLG playlist. Nice. And like, because the people who were creating those maps were doing so because of what the MLG or the competitive community was just telling them, so they were really trying to fine tune those things, and Bungie just simply didn't have the time to do it, but they could implement it. So if they did something like that moving forward, I don't know if they will. I don't know if I don't think it will really detract from the playlist as a whole, because like I said, there's going to be so much stuff to do. The fact that you have a Crucible Labs, and the fact that they're introducing these kind of fun romps, which that really sounds like it's going to be a real romp. I think is just great as a whole. If they did do something where you're testing and sort of, I don't know if you I don't know how you would necessarily send it to them or get them notified that there's, this is a really fun playlist, maybe you want to check it out. I don't think that could do anything negative for the community. I think that would actually maybe create a whole new type of individual who enjoys this game. Maybe people who just want to create game types. I mean, I've always been a fan of people. I've always been a fan of just thinking about, man, what would be a really fun change to this game type, or what would be, I remember back in D1 when private matches came out, there were so many things that I wanted to try for the respawn game type. Like I really wanted to try like a 6v6 respawn, like or not a 6v6 revive playlist. I don't know if they ever did that, but you know, again, sort of just free associating at this point. But I think overall, very, very fun thing. Very
man. I commend them for this kind of thing. And like I said, you know, getting the feedback from the community of things you want to introduce, I think is cool, you know. And you know, like I said, this looks like a romp, just like you said, like a bit crazy. I actually might jump in for the first time or last based on this. And yeah. So it looks like they got some dates. It looks like the 21st, so Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. They're gonna do a free for all version of it. So that's a little rumble for you. That's you right there, screen.
Oh man. I know what I'm doing that day.
Exactly. And then on the Friday, the 24th, they will do a 6v6 mode of it at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So again, they said it's wild and zany, that they've had a lot of fun playing at Bungie. We hope that you have a blast with it as the final labs offerings before year 2 begins. And then we get into kind of some maintenance stuff. So update 2.0 is around the corner, and they're talking about the report, you know, issues of people blocking, having Solstice armor issues deployed. So they're working on that. They got some PC odd behavior in the character screen. They're working on that. And they're talking about Resplendent Masterwork. So I'll fly through this. Pretty much that they've confirmed that Solstice armor can no longer be upgraded after the conclusion of Solstice of Heroes. This week, we can confirm that players will be able to complete objectives to masterwork their legendary Solstice armor, the Resplendent, after Solstice of Heroes ends on the 28th of August. So this will require players to have already upgraded to their legendary Solstice armor, Resplendent, and because the statue of heroes that's in the tower will no longer be available to upgrade the Scorched and Rekindled sets. So as a reminder, these armor sets only generate elemental orbs during Solstice of Heroes. So and then lastly, players should be aware that Valor ranks reset at the conclusion of Season 3. If players do not unlock their masterwork for achieving Legend in their Valor ranking by the end of Season 3, their Valor rank will reset and they will have to begin anew in Season 4. So little things in place there. Yeah, for Solstice stuff, some little quality of life stuff. I thought was cool. You know, people who didn't get a chance to finish, just, you know, kind of get it up there to purple. You can still kind of continue on. That's cool. And then I believe now this is a good one. Forsaken Preparation. You know,
this is very good, and the fact that they've done an incredible job with this, I have to say. Sorry to interrupt.
No, completely agree, man. So they're basically going to set the table. So as Destiny 2 crosses into the second year, players may observe a number of issues in the week before August 28th and September 4th. While we're working to document known issues for this week-long transition, players should be prepared for some general turbulence. All right, to set expectation, here's a sampling of issues confirmed. So they let you know ahead of time. Get ready for this. For the week leading to Forsaken. All right, here we go. Exotic weapons will lose their +5 power mod in preparation for the year 2 mod system. But legendary weapons will not until September 4th. So exotics, bye-bye, +5. Nightfall strikes will not have scoring until September 4th. Some tooltips and item descriptions may reflect year 2 item behavior, even if item functionality is not updated into September 4th. So that's interesting. Some UI stuff. Some also, again, the next one, some tooltips and item descriptions may still reflect year 1 behavior until September 4th, even though item functionality has already been updated for year 2. Year 2 weapon slots, the juicy one, will be live for all players, which may cause some weapons in players' inventories to go to their postmaster. So as a result of this, all players should ensure their postmasters are clear by August 28th to prevent loss of items.
Ooh, good tip.
That's a huge one. That's a huge one. So, and then some year 1 power weapons, which previously had an elemental attribute, will become kinetic for year 2. It's interesting. The elemental attributes for a handful of targeted year 1 weapons will be changed and locked to a specific attribute for year 2. Now we've got confirmation that I believe it's one of the Ikelos weapons, the shotgun. That's really
shotgun
easy.
And the sniper are both going to be sold.
Oh, he's back.
I thought I heard him.
The gods of the internet. Please bless us.
No, you call and bitch at your cable company, and then things happen.
Oh, there we go. There we go, man. You missed so much, but yeah, that's really cool. We're just pretty in the prep stage, as far as they're basically getting us ready, that kind of thing. So
I can see it on your screen.
So all other year 1 energy and power weapons in players' inventories will have their elemental attributes locked for year 2. So we can still expect more details. So E, now that you're back for a little bit, like how you feeling about this prep stuff and all these things that may be happening that we have to kind of prep for, when Forsaken happens during that 1 week prior to launch?
I mean, I think it's really nice, honestly. We get the weapon slots, we get to kind of toy around, get a feel. We get the vault space before you can clean up your shaders. I don't know if the shaders actually clean up then. I think that that's not the shader cleanup on that day. I honestly forget.
Yeah, I don't think they even mentioned anything about shader. Cause I want my bulk shader deletion.
Calendar. Yeah, it's on the 20th. I'm looking at the calendar.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, all this stuff is good. Getting everything prepped, so literally you don't have to worry about much and just go in and play. And this is, I think we probably both said it before, that you can go into Forsaken and just enjoy the content. I don't want to log in, spend an hour messing with my vault, doing all that stuff. I just want to log in and go. So I'm totally fine with this. The stuff moving around, the changes. I mean, it's just nice that they're giving them heads up about it. I hope the list is pretty accurate because I'm definitely working on getting my Manan set because that's like my one scout rifle.
And remember, you got to lock that Manan into that element you want. Or
well, I have 3. I have 2 of them. So
look at this guy's screen, Rich.
I was like, I have 2, so I'm going to lock those into the one that's not going to hopefully pull from the collection, so then I have an option from all 3. But I'm honestly hoping most of the random rolls make year 1 kind of useless. So that's my hope, really.
No, I feel which may eventually happen. Scream, man, what are you thinking about this all this prep stuff?
I think I would agree with him. Is that like I hate when I feel like I'm like waiting to make sure that I know exactly what I'm doing before I do anything because I don't want to have to do it again or I don't want to miss something, or the best method to doing something. So like, yeah, all this sort of open prep work, that, I mean, honestly, that the thing that really stood out to me is it was the post box thing. Yeah, because I have so much stuff in there.
Oh, you're an offender.
And I usually end up keeping a lot in there because I'm always sort of curious as to what will happen, like at a changeover. I've done that in the past, and I've had some sort of interesting results. I'm not going to do it this time. Thank you for telling me, Bungie. So yeah, I would agree. I think that it's all just a good thing, and I like to be able to just like jump right in, play. As far as things that I'm going to be, I'm very curious. Didn't they say? And again, I'm going to be. I might be wrong about this. The weapons you do have are going to receive random rolls as well, correct?
No,
they won't be.
All
your ones are going to be stagnant.
They're stacked. There are some, with the exception of there are some that will come forward, but as a drop. So the example being Better Devils. Your current Better Devils is going to be what it is. You know what I'm saying? The static, whatever it is, explosive rounds, yada, yada, yada. Now, when year 2 comes out, when you get new random drops through engrams, you get a chance. They're bringing a year 2 version of Better Devils.
Okay, yeah.
So that one will have random rolls, but the one that you currently have will never receive anything. Those will stay static.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember what they specifically said about that. If there was like they were going to receive something, or I knew that there were certain ones that weren't coming forward.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, beyond that, I've always kind of been a. I mean, the Better Devils will probably be the one that I'll, continue to maybe use until I get a new one.
Absolutely.
But there's never been a major weapon that I've always been like, oh, I can't live without this kind of thing.
Got you.
Not
even no Nameless Midnight. No.
I'm trying to think. I mean, in D1, probably more so, but that was because there was random rolls.
Right.
I always, I mean, like, the icebreaker. You never saw me without that. I mean, anything in PvE, PvP, that was just my baby. Yeah. So, as far, but like I always kind of roll any kind, whatever the meta hand cannon is and whatever like the meta exotic is sort of what I'll go with. So I'm not yeah, I'm not really thinking about that too much as far as like what I'm gonna be holding on to.
Gotcha.
But I do think the prep is good. I think the prep and the outreach is prime.
Yeah, this is really, really cool. And yeah, what about any comments on, anybody can jump in as far as the the stuff that we might be losing during that period. So they're saying that no nightfall strikes during that period, and the exotic weapons will lose that +5 power mod, that kind of stuff. Any of that kind of stuff affects you, or nothing major for you
It's
guys?
a week. I mean, honestly, it's just
short-lived.
Yeah,
short-lived a week. If you for some reason bought the game before and you're working up to it, that's not going to make much of a difference anyway. If you're trying to get ready for Forsaken, if you bought the digital collection, you can play year one. You're still going to be getting all the way up through. And if you bump up to 380 instead of 385, woo, it's not going to matter. So no, I don't think losing anything is going to honestly make much of a difference.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think this is really good stuff. I like the proactiveness on their part by getting the community ready. I think that's cool, and to me, I think the most fun part is just we're gonna have to play around with those weapon slots.
Oh
right?
my god!
So that's gonna be crazy.
Fun.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking right now, I can put Perfect Paradox in the kinetic spot. Like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then just run around. Like, it's really good because let's be honest, right? These are drastic changes, right? So we've got to get kind of acclimated before it drops, because there's a lot, dropping when Forsaken does drop at one time. So I think it's really cool to just get the community, and it's free, right? Like, a lot of people who may be on the fence with Forsaken, and then they get a chance to touch this and be like, okay, this is kind of what I wanted, that D1 feel, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. Because then we're gonna have rep and rolls and all that good stuff. So I think ultimately this is cool, and I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped.
I'm super hype. I feel like it's a way to bring people the fact that it's going to be available to anybody, anybody who has D2, as far as like the weapon system implementation, that's just going to do. I mean, from a personal standpoint of just like a lot of friends who I told buy D2 and they bought it and they were like, what is this?
What is this crap?
And they never bought the expansion for it. I know they're going to play this. I know that they're going to play it again. And I know they're going to love it because most of them were like, D1 seemed like it was a really popular game. What,
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. Like this is really cool, man. So pretty much the last stuff was just like, movies of the week, spicing together, that kind of stuff. Actually, one of them is actually pretty cool. I caught one of them. These movies is really hilarious. And then man, so they got the Nightfall scoring that went down as usual. Looks like this is gonna be going away, based on the prior update and stuff like that. And man, so tomorrow we get the which is technically the triple valid XP. It's in the Crucible. I'm sorry.
Today at noon.
Yeah, noon. You're breaking again. Damn it.
So I will leave. I'm sorry.
That's all right, man. It's not your fault, man. It's definitely not your fault. We gonna rematch this with Scream again. This is not your fault. The trifecta will go down the right way once the next issues get resolved. So don't worry, bro.
Yeah,
man. So that's pretty much it. They talk about that as far as Triple XP weekend, and then once August 28th rolls, we got the new sandbox weapon slot changes, and then on that stuff, and they show some community art stuff. So yeah, man, this was a big TWAB, with a lot of stuff, and overall based on the Crucible stuff, and what we're seeing going on with strikes and matchmaking and Gambit with the infamy ranking system. Where are you overall coming into Forsaken, Scream?
Probably as excited as I've ever been. Even possibly more excited than I was. Definitely more excited than I was at the launch of D2 because I had played in the beta and I was like, I was excited. I was really excited for the beta. Played in the beta, was not as excited for the launch, but was still excited enough, meaning I thought, maybe I didn't know what we were getting. That was sort of it. I thought maybe we were just testing PvP game types. They wanted to do static things to make it easier on their end. I didn't realize I still had a, like a hope that I'm like, this can't be the full game. This can't be the full thing. Now that they're so open, I don't think there's any real surprises.
Right.
And I think all the surprises have been shown.
Right.
I think that's a great thing. And knowing that I mean, by all accounts, getting the game that I have waited for now for almost 2 years.
Facts.
I couldn't be more excited. Couldn't be more excited. And yeah, it's going to be. I mean, not to sound too much like a fanboy.
Come on, let's hear it.
I still got to be somewhat critical as a content creator, my content creator hat. But as a true longtime sort of Bungie guy, as I said, going back to like Halo, yeah, they're going to have to do a lot to really defer me from loving on them for about the next 6 months or a year, really. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be going for the hard sells on this game for sure.
Fair enough, man.
In my social world.
Yeah, the community has been through a lot, through the launch of D2. So, I remember, like I said, we starting this thing, Flashpoint, Woody Bontis, and starting it during the absolute dark ages, and this thing was completely dead. And I think it really hit rock bottom after Curse of Osiris. Right after that,
oh yeah,
felt like the community really turned on it. The game.
That was when we were in the K-hole.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're on Skid Row, and nobody cares about it.
Nobody cares about it. And I'm sitting there at Bontis. I'm like, man, like, is this thing? Is it over? Like, is it over? Like, are we? Are we there yet? Because I mean, it was completely the darkest time. I mean, I felt even more so than D1 when D1 launched and it had its issues. You know what I'm saying? Because there were people that still felt the mechanics of the core mechanics of the game were good. They just got to fix certain things in regards to the grind. And I'm like, we're all like, how could they make these similar type mistakes again with D2? And yeah, man, it's just been a process, one brick at a time, one update at a time, trying to get this thing turned around. And I'm with you. Like, obviously, content creator, and I'm trying to stay as objective as possible, but you can't help to feel this thing is back. Like it's coming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel it's back all the way, you're like, oh, it's coming, baby. It's coming.
And like as a content creator, as a content creator for this game, I mean, not that was the reason why I started playing the game, but certainly I felt compelled to want to do that because there were so many different things that you could make content about. Like you could make content about just being a god. I don't know if I said this earlier, but you could be a god in PvP and just show your gameplay. You could be a weapons roll guy in accordance to like PvP or PvE. You could be a soloer where you do, you solo things that most people can't, or you find cheeses for those things, or you find glitches for those things, or you do the weekly updates, those kind of things. I mean, not to say that I'm a guy who harps on like cheeses and glitches, but I kind of love a good cheese and a glitch. I sort of love it. I don't know. It makes the game a little bit more, it makes it fun for me because it's like, this is something that I'm figuring out that nobody really knows,
Good point.
And I know always they're gonna fix it eventually. It's just for this week, but it's fun for this week.
But it's fun. It got me thinking Prometheus Lands. I'm laughing to myself.
Oh yeah, I love that, like that kind of stuff. It was like that was a crazy week.
It was a crazy week. It was laser tag. It was Crucible. But
I'm gonna tell you that was in the dark ages, and that week was more popular than probably a lot of weeks surrounding it.
I remember that. I remember key points. Mayhem coming back for the first time. I remember how excited people were just to play the chaoticness because everybody felt restricted by the 4v4, just stale kind of team shot meta. And for me, when I knew they turned it around really big time, was Whisper Quest. Because you're okay, this is shades of old school Destiny, running around, gathering information, finding out random things to get this ultra powerful reward. It just took me back to things like, Sleeper Simulant D1. It took me back to things like Outbreak Prime, and just when you see Blacks talk that talk. Remember when that strike came out? So it's like you see the community just galvanize and come together to figure out these secrets. That is the essence of Destiny. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want the grind, we want the reward, we want the secrets, and that's what keeps the engagement. And as much as I know Forsaken is going to, in my opinion, is really going to turn this thing all the way around, I got to give credit to Warmind. Because as much as we didn't get everything we want narratively, I think they understood the grind and the rewards. I think Warmind did that well. You know what I mean? And it's getting back to what the core, hardcore guys want. So those are my little timestamps on it. But
I mean, I was gonna say that like if the Whisper mission had come out during Curse of Osiris, that one mission alone might have saved.
Oh, that might have saved.
One mission alone,
absolutely,
the entire expansion, and that's saying something. I mean,
exactly.
That's really saying a lot.
Absolutely.
So I just look forward. Like, I mean, even this week, I don't know if this is this was something I just noticed, but I think it's kind of in tone with the way they're sort of shifting things in Osiris, in Forsaken. Is that like Xur didn't show up in the map on Friday?
Yes,
last Friday. And the thing is that he shows up in the same place where the Flashpoint is every week. Unless it's a planet that is a DLC. So unless it's Mercury or Mars, he'll be in the tower. Right. So most people, I think at this point, would either know that, at least the people who like to comment on Xur, as I do, know that. So there was kind of, I think, a little element of when you mark it on the map, it takes out any bit of surprise, any little bit. And all we need is a little bit, just a little bit of surprise to find something that much more interesting. And the fact that they didn't mark it on the map, I was like, okay, I know where he is. Most people are going to know where he is, but now I can at least say this is where he is, and it actually means something.
It's you just nailed it. Like, you literally nailed, like, it's the small, subtle things from D1 that we miss. And again, it's all about that mystery, and it's fine. And again, people laugh, oh, you guys are just talking about Xur, but it's a big deal. Like, you putting an icon on the map, here he is, like, that takes away from it
so
like
much.
Remember, you guys, I remember listening to you guys and watching you guys content create, and people were like, yo, where's Xur? Remember those words, where's Xur? Like, that's a big deal for us, you know what I'm saying? So you look at him, like, all right, Scream's got it up, Ebontis has got it up, okay, he's here, okay, cool, because you took the time, you took the effort to search the actual universe to find where he is. Not like, it became so mundane and routine.
Right. And it's somebody who has probably made I don't know how many Xur videos, but at least 50, at least maybe 60. I mean, I don't know how long, a lot, probably more than any other video I've ever done. That's where I kind of got my start.
Nice.
I see the comments and I see the feedback, and there's never been one question asked more from me posting a video of it than someone saying, where is he? Where is it? Like, not what he has, but where is he specifically?
Exactly.
And that's a big thing. And I'm so glad that I'm waiting to see if he's on the map today, but I don't think he will be.
Oh man, we could go on talking for hours. Man. This is so much fun. Yo, Scream, we're gonna bring you back, man, and definitely, like I said, shout out to Ebontis. I feel for him right now. He was really hyped for this episode, and we definitely gonna do a rematch of this very soon. Make no mistake, this is too much fun. And like I said, the lords of the internet hopefully will bless my man to get him back in the realm. But I want to shout you out, man. Tell us about like what you got going on, any upcoming content, and where can the people find you?
Well, you can find me at Wilhelm Scream Media. That's WILHE with a 1 because I'm cool and I'm a gamer.
Nice.
M Scream Media on YouTube. You can search for that. You can find me at Wilhelm again with a 1 _Scream on Twitter, or you can look for Destiny 2 Intel on Twitter, which I actually is kind of like another little sub meta of me. Nice. And on Facebook, I'm also under Destiny 2 Intel. And yeah, I try to do at least 2 videos a week, usually one around Tuesday and Friday, as those are normally days where stuff updates in the game. We get the Whisper mission now on Friday and Xur. And on Tuesday, there's going to be a lot of new stuff. I mean, and Friday, I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of new stuff. So I try to kind of cover that content, as well as do maybe like 1 or 2 free floating videos during the week of just general, maybe stuff that helps you. I like to say I try to target the quality of life of the player who who has no friends.
No,
Who is, I mean, not meaning like that guy who is by himself and just trying to find his way in this world. You know, how can I help that guy out?
Dude, that is definitely needed. And at the end of the day, you'll be surprised. Like, there is a huge part of the community that is like that. They, you know, they tend to play the game. So I have a couple of, you know, people that in the clan and people are not that are that way. So they look forward to that kind of information. That's really, really cool and helpful that you're doing that. And like I said, shout out to Destiny Intel and the Tower, man. That Facebook group, if y'all don't know about it, please, man, it's really cool. And I love checking that stuff. That's why I actually caught a lot of your videos.
Oh, okay, very cool. Yeah, I mean, a lot of I admin that Facebook group as well. I think that's one of the ones that I admin like 3 different Facebook.
Yeah, that's one of the ones. That's where I came across you.
Yeah. So I right, and I try to do as much like community outreach as far as like what, like I always try to respond to every comment on Facebook, which can be daunting because there's a lot of them. But I try, and even on YouTube and on Twitter, I always like to respond to everything. And you know, and being here today, this was a real pleasure. I mean, really, again, thank you guys for having me. This is what I really enjoy doing, which is just talking Destiny freely about with people who know it and who appreciate it. And I hope the internet gods grace us with Abanta's presence, because I feel personally lacking without him here.
Yeah, man. I feel bad. That's my partner in crime, man. So I feel bad. We're definitely bringing you back. We're definitely doing a rematch.
I would love it. I would love it.
Not about it, man. Just 3 passionate guys talking Destiny and really giving our opinions on this game that we love. So yeah, man, it's me, Lord Cognito here. Obviously Flashpoint every Fridays. Well, we try to get that done with Abantas, and usually in the morning, 9 o'clock, because I work nights. But also I am also the host of Iron Lords podcast, and that is Sunday, and that is at 1 p.m. Eastern, and that is every Sunday is the Lord's Day. It's the moniker. Ooh, yeah. So yeah, man, come check us out. We try to have guests in the industry or just regular content creators as well. This week will be a special one. We're gonna get Dan McCullough, the actual head of Xbox Live. So you have some questions, please check that out. And when we do our live shows, that is on the Inner Circle Network at network channel. So check that out. Live chat is always popping. You know, if you have some time, stop by. And also the shows are archived on the Iron Lord podcast channel, as well as Flashpoint and other original content. So check us out, man. We're trying to move out here. And yeah, man, we're gonna wrap this thing up. And if you got anything else for the people screen, we're gonna get out of here, man.
I'm just gonna say I'm gonna be there this Sunday.
Oh, my man. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Tune in. We're going to have some fun, man. We definitely have some fun. My chat's a little crazy, but we have fun. No doubt, man. So I know everybody enjoyed their day, and we're out of here. Peace.